Get ready. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, adoption of agenda. Councillor Decker, mover, seconder, Councillor Neal. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adoption of minutes. Council meeting from May 19th, 2020. Mover, Councillor Longo, seconder, Councillor Sentence. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Council meeting minutes of May 20th, 2020. Mover, Councillor Wilson, seconder, Councillor Kenny. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mayor's report. On Friday, May 29th, 2020, we joined other municipalities in Niagara in holding a flag raising to recognize Niagara Pride Week, which runs from May 30th to June 6th, 2020, marking their 10th anniversary. A celebration of Niagara's sexual and gender diverse LGBTQ plus community and its supporters. On Monday, June 1st, 2020, we held another flag raising, this time to honor our seniors and recognize Seniors Month, with limited representatives from our Age-Friendly Committee and the Age-Friendly Niagara Network. Councillor Neal was in attendance. This year's theme is Aging Strong, Respect and Protect Seniors. Aging strong and creating a community for all ages is important as the City of Thorold strives to optimize opportunities for the overall well-being of our seniors. We continue to work closely with the Niagara Economic Rapid Response Team, which has just completed its most recent survey of the COVID-19 impact on Niagara businesses. That closed on June 1st, 2020. We eagerly await the results of this survey, which is a follow-up survey to the one taken at the end of March. 123 City of Thorold businesses took part in the first survey. Food giveaway number 6 took place on Saturday, May 30th, 2020 in the Doherty Arena parking lot, and it was the largest turnout to date. A special thank you to Thorold's anonymous donor who continues to step up not only in the City of Thorold, but across the region. Thank you, Councillor Hanley, for coordinating this and getting the word out on CKTB. Also, thank you, Councillor Decker, Councillor DeRose, Regional Councillor Whalen, MPP Jeff Birch, City Employee Jeremy Agater, our Director of Operations and Community Services, Jeff Holman, and Henry D'Angela for volunteering. I was also on hand and cannot say enough about the great community spirit and how much these food giveaways mean to our city. There will be a citywide food drive organized by One Thorold on June 14th, 2020. Please see the city website and Facebook page for details. And this food drive is targeting items that are really necessary that Community Care in Thorold has laid out as items that they're really short of. So please participate in that. There's contact information on how you can get involved, and that will take place on June 14th. On Wednesday, May 27th, 2020, I was the guest speaker on the Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce virtual Zoom meeting. This was focused on COVID-19 related issues in our business community. On Sunday, May 31st, 2020, I joined the virtual online ordination service of Terence Schlistra to formally install him as pastor of the Table, located in downtown Thorold. This is a new parish located in downtown Thorold, which will be reaching out in our community to help those in need. Yesterday, Prime Minister Trudeau announced good news for municipalities regarding gas tax funding. This funding will be accelerated. One payment will come this June. This early delivery of full funding for 2020 and 2021 will help communities quickly move forward with infrastructure projects. So there'll be no worry that we're not getting gas tax funding. We know we're getting it, and we're getting it in advance. The federal government is also in talks with the provinces on other infrastructure funding initiatives, and we wait to hear more on that. Today, the federal government announced $30 million for Southern Ontario's tourism industry, and that's the latest announcement today. As we move forward, during stage 1 of the reopening of our province, it is important to reinforce the necessary safety precautions are still in place, such as staying at home and away from others if you are feeling ill, no gathering in groups, still 5, but this may change soon as we move through the phases. And today, the province passed the emergency order has been extended until June 30th. Physical distancing of 2 meters, wearing a face covering when physical distancing is a challenge or not possible. Washing your hands frequently for 20 seconds with soap and water, or using an alcohol-based sanitizer if soap and water are not available. Clean and disinfect high-touch services, and avoid non-essential trips in the community are just some of the items. Our website, the regional website, the provincial website, all has a full listing. Again, like I said, please visit the Niagara Region Public Health website and Facebook page for updates, which will also be posted on the City of Thorold website and Facebook page as they become available. And if there's any changes by the province, we'll make sure those are updated. In closing, I would like to read a statement that Niagara Regional Police Chief Brian McCullough tweeted yesterday. The Niagara Regional Police Service is committed to delivering bias-free policing to all residents and visitors to Niagara, regardless of race, color, gender, sexual orientation, religion, or citizenship. We are stronger and safer when we work together. Hashtag diversity and inclusion. Well said, Chief McCullough, and there is no place for racism and discrimination. Let's make sure we all work together and walk the talk. And that's the end of my mayor's report. We'll move on now to motions for councillor support. Up first, City of Thorold. Mover, Councillor Longo. Seconder, Councillor Sentence. Newspaper distribution. And I'll refer now to Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas residents of the City of Thorold continue to express frustration with the method of bag and toss delivery used by commercial entities, even when the businesses have been notified that residents wishes to be removed from the delivery route. And whereas the mayor's office has sent several letters to the organization yielding no results, and whereas the mayor and staff have met with the respective organizations to express their concerns and frustrations with the delivery methods, again yielding no results, now therefore be it resolved that the City of Thorold proceed to draft a bylaw to be presented at the next council meeting on June 16, 2020, that would prohibit the dropping of flyers and newspapers and other such items on a driveway, lawn, or boulevard for residents that have not requested or subscribed to the service. And 2, that residents and businesses who still wish to continue and have subscribed to receive the items may do so, provided the items are placed in a secure manner and delivered to the subscriber's property, mailbox, or slot at the doorstep, and must not accumulate for more than 2 weeks.
Thank you, Councillor Longo. Are there anyone that wants to speak to that motion? Go ahead, Councillor Longo. Go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to just give a bit of update here, just a bit of thoughts on the reasoning for this. As you know, Mr. Mayor, being on the last council, this has been going on quite some time. We've discussed this before, we've had meetings before, and to no avail, it seems. A number of residents I've spoken to have called and asked not to have the paper not delivered. And again, the paper continues to get delivered. There are many issues with delivery like this, and I'll just go through a few quickly. from a perspective, I'll give you a story last week from a safety perspective. A black Suburban driving down my street with the driver's window and the passenger window rolled down, and one person in the vehicle throwing papers out both sides as he drove down my street. Now that's just my street. I don't know what they do on others. So that seems to me like a safety concern. From a property damage concern, a number of residents have, I know of at least 4 who have snow blowers that have been ruined and no compensation given to them by the person who delivered the paper. Mr. Mayor, there's nobody that likes a good Canadian Tire flyer more than myself. I have no problem receiving the newspaper. All I'm looking for is it to be subscribed to and to be delivered in a environmentally friendly way. I don't think putting it in a plastic bag and throwing it where it can sit for weeks and weeks is a good way to do business. I think as a good corporate citizen, they would want to deliver it the way people want it. People say, well, I'm going to put people out of work. I don't think so. I think they can hire more people to deliver in this fashion. So again, I'm not trying to take away anybody's right to get a newspaper or news. Some people say I'm against people getting news and trying to put a newspaper out of business. I'm just trying to get effective and a good way to have a product delivered. And that's all I'm looking for here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Longo. Does anyone else want to speak? Councillor Hanley, go ahead. And then I have Councillor Wilson after that. Unmute your mic. There you go.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Longo. I go back and I think about, how newspapers were delivered. The only papers that I ever seen that were delivered in that fashion, yes, were the Toronto Sun and the Star, but there were minimum amounts that were delivered in the city. Now we're getting into the advertising, as you said. I have a resident next door, 2 at one time, did not even live at the property. Whoever was there, they could care less. They accumulated 10, 11, 12 at a time. The guy just kept throwing them out the window. They are ticketing people for distracted driving. If that's not distracted driving and that stuff, because distracted driving isn't only being on your phone. There's other means for distracted driving too. So I agree, like Councillor Longo says, you don't want to put anybody out of business, but have them drop them off in the mailbox. When I was a kid and delivered newspapers, you dropped them off in the mailbox. You didn't throw them on the guy's driveway and run to the next house. So I think, like Councillor Longo says, it'll create jobs. The thing is, the faster you can get them out the window, the more money you make. Well, maybe they're going to have to up the payment to get them hand delivered. And if people don't want them and don't want to subscribe to them, they shouldn't receive them in the manner that they are. So I agree with the resolution that's put forward.
Thank you, Councillor Hanley. I have Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I haven't been on council as long as Councillor Longo or Hanley. However, we have talked about this several times in the past year, and every time it came up, I've always talked about the safety aspect of it. On my street, it's the driver that is throwing the paper out, and it's quite scary. I've seen them almost hit people as they drive by, not to mention they're distracted driving, just like Councillor Hanley said. It's crazy, and it's crazy to me that they haven't been ticketed while doing this. It's totally unsafe. I'm not against having the paper either, but I'd rather not be thrown out a window at people walking by. I don't think it's safe for our residents, and I think you should have the ability to unsubscribe from something. I mean, it's like that electronically, you have to, by law, have that little tag at the bottom that they can unsubscribe if they don't want it. So why shouldn't it be the same for a physical paper? So I'm in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. I had Councillor DeRose. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
For you, Mr. Mayor, I'm in support of Councillor Longo's recommendation. As much as I received several calls this week that people were upset if we do follow through with this, I tried to explain to them they can still get it, but it'll be in a safer, more productive way, getting it delivered by someone on foot. And it's a lot safer. But I do feel for people that were worried that this is their only form of communication with the outside world. A lot of elderly people reached out to me, and I tried to explain to them they can still have it delivered, just in a different manner. So I am in support of Councillor Longo's position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeRosa. Councillor Neal, did you have your hand up? Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
Thank you. The only question I have is looking at the resolution is that if I'm being a company wanting to deliver my pamphlets, as long as I put them in the mailbox, I think it's illegal for me to do that now with this resolution, or am I looking at it the wrong way?
Go ahead, Councillor Longo. Did you want to speak on that?
Yeah, what I'm trying to get here, Mr. Mayor, is for people can get anything they want as long as they subscribe to it, right? So if you want to subscribe to this publication, let them know you want it and they can deliver it to you.
Again, Mr. Mayor, through you to Councillor Longo, or maybe from staff, is I don't see where it will be legal for me to just put my pamphlet in the mailbox going to Thorold. That's what I get from this resolution. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe staff can give me some direction.
I'll turn that. I'll see if our chief building official, Jason, did you want to speak on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe what Councillor Longo is alluding to is that, and the way I read it is that everybody can still get the paper, but if they choose to get the paper, the paper must be delivered to the mailbox or the doorstep, not just tossed onto the property from the road. And the papers cannot accumulate on the doorstep or in the mailbox for a period of longer than 2 weeks. That's the way I take it.
That's correct. That's the way I understood it. Okay, Councillor Neal, do you want to add anything?
I just said I don't think it's in that bylaw, and I think if I had a business and I wanted to deliver my flyers and put them in the mailbox, I cannot do it with this resolution.
I think you can. Am I right? Okay, Councillor Longo, if you had a business and you want to deliver the flyers to someone's mailbox, can you deliver it?
Well, and that would be my intention, Mr. Mayor. This isn't the actual bylaw, correct?
That's correct. This is just a
motion forward to bring a bylaw. So that's why we're having this conversation. So obviously, Councillor Neal's comment, could he deliver a flyer to a home? Yes, I believe you should be able to. You do it in a thoughtful and respectful manner. I don't think Councillor Neal, when he runs for council, walks down Honey Locust Circle and throws pamphlets on people's homes. And that's
I would never do that. No, it's just in another.
You never come to my street.
Councilor Longo, it's just in the first part of the resolution. It says would prohibit the dropping of flyers and other such items on a driveway, lawn, or boulevard.
Correct.
But if I delivered it to the mailbox, it doesn't state that I can do that.
Well, it says you can do it in item 2.
In part 2 of the motion.
Only residences and business who wish to have it. So that means that I have to go to every resident and ask them if I could put it in their mailbox.
And I'm okay.
Would you like to make a friendly amendment to his motion? That
maybe just if he could just go to staff and just make sure that that's not prohibiting me from dropping stuff in a mailbox.
Are you okay with that, Councillor Longo? Go ahead. He is. Okay.
Thank you.
I had go ahead, Chief Building Official Jason, then I have Councillor Kenny. I'll go with Jason first. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I believe I understand the intent of Councillor Longo's motion. So when we're drafting the bylaw, we'll try to make sure that his intent is covered. And if we have any questions, we'll reach out.
Okay. I got Councillor Kenny, and then I have Councillor Sentence. Go ahead, Councillor Kenny. Unmute your mic.
Okay?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, I won't be supporting this motion. After working 39 years in the paper industry, there's no way I'm going to support this motion. There's a lot of jobs that are affected. You can say there aren't, but there will be. Down the road, there will be many jobs that are affected. I think some councillors should look in the mirror, because when I was campaigning last time, probably a lot of mine too, but a lot of our literature was littered all over the ground and all over the steps of people in Thorold. I think we have to address the issue itself and get people to clean up their yards. Some of the yards in Thorold are a mess. I think our bylaw has to get harsher on these people cleaning up garbage and not literally garbage and paper on the lawns. So I will not be supporting this motion for that reason. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kenny, I have Councillor Sentence. Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I will be supporting this motion because we've had so many complaints and we've tried so many times to come up with a solution with them. And most of my calls that I get are from people and asking to unsubscribe. I've tried for about 5 people to unsubscribe, and the paper keeps coming and coming. I think this will give us a little bit of negotiation ability to just ask for something that is reasonable. Not cutting papers. They might still have a 99% circulation, but if you don't want it, and you don't want it on the end of your driveway, and most of the people that ask me to stop it is because they're seniors and they're older, and getting to the end of their grass or end of their driveway is a chore, especially in the winter. So I will support this. I think we need to move forward and see what we can do with Niagara this week. And again, not take anything away from anybody, and you can have it if you want it. You're just going to get it a different way. Thank you.
Okay, any further speakers? Seeing none, oh, go ahead, Councillor Wilson.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one last comment. I believe that it would be easiest that they don't have to get the people's permission. I agree with what Councillor Neal was saying, but that if they're asked to not have it, then they don't deliver it there. But I really don't think that a lot of people wouldn't want it. I don't mind getting flyers in my mailbox, but I mind getting it at the end of my driveway and having somebody run over it and flying all over my lawn, or in the middle of the winter it's stuck with ice. Like, I think I agree with what Councillor Sentence just said. I think people are frustrated about the way it's delivered, not that they're mad that they're getting flyers in a newspaper, right? So I think it will actually help their business more if they're asked to go to this model. And if we put in that bylaw that they can unsubscribe versus they have to have permission, I think that covers any worries.
That you would have to have a friendly amendment to the motion, because the motion states that you have to subscribe. You want him to unsubscribe, so it would have to be a friendly amendment if that would be accepted by Councillor Longo.
Okay, can I make that friendly amendment then?
You can, yeah. Councillor Longo, are you accept that?
Although I appreciate what Councillor Wilson's trying to say, the way I look at this is it's kind of like negative option billing, where they give it to you and you have to say no. And I don't think that's right, and I don't think it's legal, to be quite honest. When I spoke to the representative of the newspaper who called me this week, they told me that everybody in Thorold subscribes to their newspaper. And I told her that that was not true, because I've never subscribed to their newspaper, yet I receive it. So I would prefer that people just need to subscribe. They're gonna continue to hand this paper out for a few more weeks. Put a piece of paper in there that shows people how to email, make a phone call to subscribe. Because they do not unsubscribe people. They have refused to unsubscribe people who've tried numerous times.
So you don't accept the friendly amendment, am I correct?
No, I don't.
Okay, so he doesn't want to accept that. Councillor
that
Wilson,
changes-
for the reasons he stated, are you good with that?
Well, I'm not good with that, because then I do agree with Councillor Neal that then how do I send a flyer to somebody's house via Canada Post and have that be legal since they haven't subscribed for my flyer? Like, if we put a blanket bylaw, I think it's affecting lots of businesses.
Do you want to? I'll let us see if our chief building official wants to speak to that or on what he thinks. I'm putting you on the spot, I know, Jason, but.
Yes, I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I can say, I can only speak from an enforcement standpoint. it will be difficult when it comes down to enforcement to determine whether or not somebody has subscribed to something or not. But it is not impossible. So it really, all I can speak from is from the enforcement standpoint. And yes, having to prove whether or not somebody is subscribed to something can be very difficult to do, especially if they're difficult to get in touch with. But that's really the only comment I have getting to this.
Councillor Longo, did you want to speak again? And then I'll go to Councillor DeRose. I see your hand up.
Sure. I'd like to think I'm reasonable. I will accept the friendly amendment that I guess everybody in Thorold's automatically subscribed. As long as they unsubscribe people, they need to be fair to the community.
Well, that's something that we need to monitor, and it's up to us. And I agree that that's an important aspect in this, for sure.
Right.
So
And
you're
I agree.
accepting the friendly amendment is that so everybody's clear, the friendly amendment that Councillor Long has accepted is that you will be opting out, not opting in now. Is that correct, Councillor Wilson?
Yes.
And you've accepted that, Councillor Longo, correct?
Yeah, I'll accept it. As long as it's legal, I'll accept it, sure. And again, I'm not trying to harm any business or harm any people. I'm just trying to clean up our city, and that's the intent of this.
And I think that that's an easier system to function.
Sure.
Okay,
Anything
is
else,
anyone
Mr.
else?
Mayor?
Everybody good? Everybody good? Any more else? I got Councillor Kenny, go ahead. You got on mute.
Yeah, I know. Give me a chance. I'm slow. Well, that sort of changes my vote. If with that friendly amendment, and now that people can unsubscribe, I can agree with that. As long as that's there.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor DeRose, did you want to say final comment here?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think what Councillor Wilson and Councillor Neal were alluding to were flyers and advertisements. This is a tabloid, so I think it's a little different. The only problem with unsubscribing, what if they continue to deliver? What are you going to do then?
Then we'll have to revisit it, won't we? That's the way I look at it. Okay, is everybody good? Are we done here? Councillor Decker, did you want to speak or you're good?
No, I'm good. I just want to make sure that people like in rural areas or people that don't have mailboxes and stuff like that won't be affected by the delivery system, and that, that they'll still be able to get the paper as they wish.
Thank you. Okay, so we have that. We have the amendment, and that'll come, and Jason will put it together and bring it as a bylaw. All those in favor? Oh, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. I'll let our city clerk confirm the amendment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the only amendment to the motion is item number 2, that residents and business who do not wish to continue receiving the items may do so by opting out.
Correct. Are you okay? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Very good discussion. City of Thorold, B, mover Councillor Neal, seconder Councillor Kenny, personal face mask, COVID-19. Councillor Neal, you're up. Councillor Neal, you have to unmute. There you go.
There we go. Yeah, that the resolution passed by the Council of the Town of Fort Erie at its meeting of May 19th, 2020, requesting the Prime Minister of Canada and the Premier of Ontario consider implementing policies regarding the wearing of masks when social distancing is not possible and within essential services such as grocery stores, pharmacies, and the like, as society is reopened following the current emergency, be received and supported.
Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Number C, City of Thorold. Mover, Councillor Hanley. Seconder, Councillor DeRose. Ministry of Health Billing Codes, Virtual Care, COVID-19. Councillor Hanley, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My resolution is that the resolution passed by the Council of the Town of Fort Erie at its meeting on May 19th, 2020, requesting the Minister of Health ensure physicians are paid in a timely manner and that they are supported in a manner that does not result in offices being closed and patients being orphaned, be received and supported.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on, I've got consent reports. There's 3. I have a mover, Councillor Kenny, and a seconder, Councillor Decker. Does anyone want to pull a consent report, or are we moving them all together? I don't see anyone that wants to pull any. So I have a mover, Councillor Kenny, seconder, Councillor Decker. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we'll move on to discussion reports. DF 2020-14, Water and Urban Service Area Sanitary Sewers and Sidewalk Budgets. I need a mover and a seconder. Can I get a mover? Councillor Hanley, seconder, Councillor DeRose. And I'll turn that over to our Director of Finance, Maria Morrow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you this evening is the report on the water and urban budgets. This covers water, sanitary sewers, and sidewalks. Normally, these budgets are approved and the rates increased in April of each year. In light of the COVID pandemic, Council has previously approved a deferral of increase to the June billing, with this report recommending a further deferral in the rate increase to the July billing, which will be due at the end of August. The budgets and the rates are impacted by a few main drivers. The biggest driver is the water and sewer costs from the region, which represent over 70% of the total bill. For 2020, regional increases for our estimated flow volumes represent a 19% increase to sewer costs and a 1.6% increase for water. The total increase in dollars from the region is about $717,000. The second driver is the delay in the rate increase from April to July, which will impact the budgets by reducing revenues by about $114,000. In order to mitigate the impact of the rates, we have the capital renewal provisions have been maintained at the 2019 levels rather than the normal increase required to fund assumed subdivisions and inflation. The planned hiring of 2 new positions have been deferred from Q2 to Q4. And lastly, a large transfer of $424,000 from the sewage capital reserve has been made to buffer the rate impact. The report outlines in detail the various impacts from each category. Water and sewer rates to the average user who consumed 170 cubic meters in a year will increase by 3.4% for water and 7% for sewer rates, for a blended 5.4% or $12.98 per quarter. There is no change recommended to the urban service area tax levy. In addition, there are a number of fees and charges that have been recommended to be increased to recover our costs. The recommendations listed in the report are respectfully suggested for approval. And that concludes the overview.
Thank you, Maria, and I want to thank you for a great detailed report, well laid out. And so I'll open the floor now to questions for our Director of Finance. I have Councillor Hanley. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Maria, where do we see in regards to the revenue and that stuff? Where are revenue and water and sewer be affected due to the COVID-19, seeing that commercial entities aren't operating as they were prior?
That's very possible, Councillor Hanley. We really haven't reduced the revenues for any sort of deviation in flow volume, but that certainly is a possibility.
Okay, I thank you for the report and that stuff. And you mentioned that 75% of this is actually regional increase, not municipal?
About the region represents about 71% of the bill. So if you look at the flow volume, 19% is the increase from the region in sewer costs and about 1.6% for water. So really about, if we had passed on the regional increase, we'd have to increase by about 9%. So we had to look at other mitigation from the city aspect to kind of bring that rate down.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good, because it looks like, majority of it is we're paying the region, the city's portion. I figured that 75% was, city's portion is only $13. The region's is $38.92. Thanks very much for your report, Maria, very well.
And if I can add, I think it's important to know here that the region has the impact of their increase is in effect, and it's been in effect for the greater part of the year, and that was brought to council to look at reconsidering that budget item, and it was defeated, and so that increase is ingrained, which further puts us under stress, because if we don't pass that increase along, then we're eating the region's increase, which is a complicated issue, but it's not fair to our taxpayers to have to subsidize the region share. Councillor DeRose, did you have your hand up? No? Anyone else have any questions? Okay, seeing none, I want to again thank you, because that's a very detailed report, very well laid out, and I know how hard it was to put together that budget with what you were faced with. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. PDS 2020-2935 Honey Locust privacy screen, and I'll turn this over to our Chief Building Official, Jason Simpson. Oh, and I need a mover and a seconder. Can I get a mover? Hands up. Councillor Neal and Councillor Wilson. I got you last time, Councillor Hanley. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, this report remains the same as last council meeting. The recommendations are: 1, that council support the recommendations of the Public Forum Committee dated February 4th, 2020. And 2, that council support the provisions of the City of Thorold's fence bylaw number 28-2008 and require the privacy screen constructed at 35 Honey Locust Circle to be brought into compliance with such provisions. And that ends the recommendations.
Thank you. Questions to our Chief Building Official, and I'll get Councillor Hanley up.
No question, just a comment.
Well, that's fine. Go ahead.
Well, I'm hoping that tonight I wanted to get in there before it's not deferred. I looked, and there's been 2 public forum meetings in regards to this: December 10th, 2019, and February the 4th, 2020. Recommendation came before council February 18th, 2020. Came again before council on May 19, 2020, and now again today. And to make a multi-million-dollar decision for the Canada Games, it took only 2 meetings, May 21st, 2019 and December 3rd, 2019. So I'm hoping tonight we can make a decision on this screening. I know how I'm going to vote.
Thank you, Councillor Hanley. Anyone else to speak? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Did you get that? All that done? Yes, I did. Okay. CC 2020-26. Committee of Adjustment functioning during COVID-19. I need a mover and a seconder. Can I get a mover? Councillor DeRose, seconder, Councillor Decker. And I'll turn this over to our City Clerk, Donna Delvecchio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's recommended that Thorold City Council rescind their decision of March 31st, 2020 to hold the Committee of Adjustment in abeyance and reinstate the committee effective immediately, and that the electronic meeting protocol for Committee of Adjustment attached to this report as Appendix A be approved.
Any speakers or any questions regarding this? So basically, we're putting the Committee of Adjustment back in their hands and out of our hands, okay? Which is a welcome relief. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. CC 2020-29, Video Surveillance Policy and Procedures. I need a mover and a seconder. I got Councillor Sentence and Councillor Hanley. And again, I'll turn this over to our city clerk, or is it going Donna Del Vecchio?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's recommended that council approve the attached video surveillance policy and procedures. That concludes the report.
And everybody's read the report, so I'm going to open this floor for questions. I have Councillor Hanley first, then I have Councillor Neal.
No questions at this time, Mr. Mayor, and that stuff. I think the thing is, I'm glad to see that we've proceeded in trying to get a video surveillance coordination going between the cities and the departments. I see between the BIA and the installation requests and employee acknowledgement, and whether or not they're going to be done for covert operations where the cameras will be hidden or whether they'll be exposed in public view. So, I think it's a great report, and it's done elsewhere. This isn't nothing new in today's world, and seeing in the turn of what's happening in the world lately and that stuff, I think having video surveillance will act as a deterrent, as it does in many other places around the world and municipalities in Ontario. So I'm all for it.
Thank you, Councillor Hanley. I got Councillor Neal, and then I have Councillor Sentence after that. Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
I agree with Councillor Hanley, and I'm glad that we're going to pass this tonight because we have a great national park in our midst, and we've had the graffiti involved with it recently. And there's other places, as Councillor Hanley has brought up previously, that we can attack and make sure that that we keep these vandals out of the downtown core especially.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. I have Councillor Sentence. And then I have Councillor DeRose. Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I love the report and that we're going through this. I support it fully. Our parks, vandalism, for myself, the illegal dumping, I would love to see some of that. Stolen signs, different avenues that we've had that can be monitored. And you know what? Just the idea that people will know that they'll be monitored will be a deterrent itself too. So great report, and I'm all for it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor DeRose, I seen your hand up.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with this motion, and I think just the fear that you're being watched will affect behavior around our community. I think it's an important step to even take it further eventually. Now, I just had a quick question. We had discussed also, and it might have been a private conversation with Jason, I can't remember, but about private properties that have their own. Does any of this cover any of that, or is it two separate entities? Can I put that question to Jason, please?
Yes, you can, and I'll turn it over to our Chief Building Official, Jason Simpson.
Nothing to do
Thank
with
you.
private property. It has nothing to do with private property.
No, I know.
This is only municipal property.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe that this report covers surveillance cameras on private property. But if I could, I would like to refer to the city clerk who was involved in the writing of the report. She may be able to speak to it better than I can.
Thank you, Jason. I'll turn it over to Donna. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this only applies to municipal properties,
Yes.
not private properties.
Okay. Councillor DeRose?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the clerk, can we, going forward, separate from this, just because I had asked for several residents that were concerned that they were being videoed from their neighbor. So can that be on something going forward down the road we can look at? Just the legalities of that?
This is something that I can look at. I'm not sure how far I can take that, but I can certainly do a little bit of research and get back to you.
Thank
She can look into that, but that'll be separate from this report, okay,
Right,
Councillor DeRose?
correct.
Okay.
Correct. I'm in support of the report. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, any notices of motion? Seeing none, we have nothing in closed meeting, and now we're on to bylaws. First reading of the bylaws, mover Councillor Wilson, seconder Councillor DeRose. that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw 69-220, 72-220, 73-2020, I should say. They're all 2020. 74-2020, 75-2020, 76-2020, 77-2020, 78-2020, 79-2020, 80-2020, 81-2020, 82-2020, and 83-2020, and the same now be read a first time. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried?
Terry, can I just add something?
Yep.
Through the mayor, the bylaw that refers to water and sewer, the effective date in the bylaw stated June 1st, and it should be July 1st. So I'd like to make that amendment in the bylaw just so council's aware, so we don't have to bring it back at the next meeting.
Okay, so that change, has everybody, oh, go ahead, Director of Finance, go ahead, Maria.
Through Mr. Mayor, my apologies. It's actually two bylaws. It's the water one, which is 74-2020, and the sewer one, which is 75-2020.
And so those amendment will be made to July 1st, correct? Is everybody good with that? So I'll ask that we retake that vote again then. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. That the bylaws just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And now we move on to adjournment. Mover, Councillor Sentence. Seconder, Councillor Longo. That this meeting is hereby adjourned at 7:17. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone, for another successful Zoom virtual council meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, Victoria.
Thank you. We're getting pretty good at it now.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.